Hey everybody, welcome back to Political Science 101, American Government and Politics at Simmons College. I want to thank you all who have submitted your quizzes. Vast majority of you have done so, and I've gotten them graded and back to you. The class average was actually pretty good. If you did not get as high a grade as you wanted, you can reach out to me either over email or text message and ask me to clarify your grade. But I gotta tell you, y'all did pretty well. Nobody failed. Well, a few of you haven't submitted your quizzes yet. If you don't submit a quiz, that's a zero. But I'll accept them late. I'll take a few points off, but I will accept late quizzes. So please get them into me. But those of you who have turned them in, you all did pretty well. Like I said, the class average was pretty high. So good work so far, you all. You're either watching these videos and or reading your textbook and or reading more information online. Either way, seems to me like y'all are getting it done. So that's good. I know these are different, trying times. For most of you, when you signed up to go to college, you were not anticipating being in college during an international pandemic where we have to close down campuses and do these classes remotely. But here we are. Thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your dedication to your own education and your continued learning. And this class will hopefully be a part of that. Okay. Let's talk about the next month. The next month of classes, we're going to talk about a few things. As you see there in the supplement to the syllabus, you'll see we're going to talk about political parties, talk about special interests, the role that money plays in politics. This is the more interesting part of the semester, for me anyway. I don't know if I've explained this to you all, but my quote-unquote day job, when I'm not being an adjunct professor at Simmons College, is that I work for a nonprofit based in the Washington, D.C. area, where I am responsible for a few things, including lobbying state legislatures, and here in the near future, I may be doing some lobbying with Congress as well. Wouldn't be the first time. When I say lobbying, what is that? What is a lobbyist? That is someone who is paid to influence legislation or executive actions. Someone who is paid to influence policymakers, be they executive branch or legislative branch. Lobbyists don't have much of a direct role in the judicial branch, but certainly legislative and executive. And there are different types. We lobbyists come in many forms. There are some who make a lot of money representing large corporations. I'm proud to say I'm not one of those, but I still get paid to represent an organization that wants to influence statutes, bills, legislation, one way or the other. And we'll talk more about that in the next few lectures. We'll talk about, again, the role that money plays in that. So the way that wealthy people and particularly wealthy corporations can throw around some money and influence statutes, influence executive orders, influence other administrative and executive branch actions. We'll talk about all those things. Talk about the party system, the two-party system in the United States. Yes, there's more than two parties. There are more than two parties. But two big ones that control the entire government. That's the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The wording gets a little bit confusing because the party names are rooted in the type of government that we have. We have a representative democracy, also known as republic. Hear those words? Democracy, republic, Democrat, Republican. The party names for the purpose of this class don't mean that much. What you need to know, and I'll elaborate more tomorrow in tomorrow's lecture. But what you need to know is that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are ideologically opposed on several issues. Your ideology is the position you have on important issues and the thought process, the thinking that gets you to that position. Democrats have different ideology than Republicans on many important issues, and that is the root of the political discourse and the political animosity in the United States. Well, that's the framework. The root for our animosity lies in our history, our past. And I'll talk some more about that. You cannot talk about American government and politics without talking about the history of this country. And this is not a history class, but I have taught history at Simmons College before. And I have a history degree from the University of Louisville. And I can tell you that the way that I view history is different from how you probably had it in high school or middle school or some previous college class at some other college. I don't see history as a series of names and dates and things that students must memorize. No. History to me is about patterns and change over time. It's about the nuances, the little interesting things that make that kind of let us know how we got to where we are today. For example, we just celebrated a holiday in this country. Monday of this week, on the 15th of February, we celebrated President's Day. What an interesting holiday that is. I'm not saying it's good or bad holiday, I'm saying it's interesting. What makes it interesting? Well, we're celebrating the lives of two presidents, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. They have quite a few things in common. Both white men, both been dead for a really long time. Both extremely historically significant presidents of the United States. If those two men had not been born, had not led the lives they led, and had not led this country at the time, the specific time in which they were president, the country would be a very different place today. Maybe better, maybe worse, but it would be different because those are two of the people who significantly shaped the future of the country they left behind when they died. They had those things in common, but they had some things not in common. What did they have that's not in common? How about the fact that George Washington owned like 300 people, 300 human beings at one time? Human beings, African people, people of African descent. He held them in bondage as chattel property. George Washington was a very effective military commander and a very effective administrator. And I'm not sure if there were too many people on Earth at the time that he lived that could have steered this country in the direction that he did as its first president. But you cannot ignore the fact that he owned a bunch of human beings as property. Not as employees, but as slaves. On the other hand, Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, the man who legally ended slavery, politically striking a blow on slavery with the Emancipation Proclamation, and then legally dealing the death blow to chattel slavery in the United States with the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. So although they're both long dead white men who happen to be president, after that, Lincoln and Washington are very different people, and yet we just had a federal holiday to celebrate their births, but really to celebrate the fact that they were presidents. American history is complicated, and you cannot understand the mechanisms in our country that impact you and me in our everyday lives, and tell you a little bit more about our history. So we'll talk about that. I promise you I will do my best not to be some dry high school style history lecturer during this time, but we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit. That's the next month. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to encourage you all who haven't gotten your quizzes in yet, please get them in. I will take off a few points for being late, but not that much. You can honestly make an A if you have a perfect quiz and you get it in late. I don't penalize you very heavily for that. I just want you to learn the material and show me on the quiz that you've learned it. That's what I care the most about. With that, please continue reading in your textbooks. If you haven't got a textbook yet, please email Keisha Barger as soon as you can. See if she has some copies left. If not, there should be used copies on Amazon. Please do not pay full price for a brand new textbook. Don't forget to comment below that you watched this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you probably within 24 hours. But I hope your week is going well so far. Oh, and please stay warm. Remember, I'm not in Kentucky anymore, but I know that you're covered up in snow there. So please stay safe on those roads and sidewalks, and please stay warm. Thank you. Talk to you soon.